What's up everybody, 40 the Broadway Saiyan here, and welcome back again to my YouTube channel, bringing you guys another video on Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the Emperor and Celes's rework, and also the debut of Celes's LD weapon and the Emperor's burst weapon, which is going to be coming out in conjunction with the upcoming Divine Ramuh World of Illusions event. But before we talk about that, if you guys are brand new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell. That way you guys are not missing out on future uploads. And if you guys enjoy what you see on this channel, be sure to hit that like button and share this video, as it does help me out. Don't forget to check out all the fantastic resources out there for Dissidia Opera Omnia. All the links will be down below in the video description, as well as the pinned comments. And last but not least, don't forget to check out all the fantastic content creators out there besides myself. Be sure to show them some love. Those of you guys that create those guides and spreadsheets, it just makes the experience for Opera Omnia that much better. Without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about the Emperor and Celes. Alright guys, so here we are with my video for Emperor and Celes. We're going to be talking about the reworks they get, as well as Emperor's LD extension board and the debut of his burst weapon. And we're also going to be talking about Celes's rework, as well as the debut of her LD weapon. Let's start things off with Emperor. Now for the purposes of the video, I'm going to go straight into the burst, so then that way when I use his skill 1 and skill 2, which do get reworks, I can actually use them without any interruption. Okay, so first, his skill 1 Beckoning Blast and Flare combo gets one more usage, so he has another usage out of that, more longevity. It also has the Stolen Brave Overflow, now at 150%, before it was at 120%, and it has a lower action delay. So let's go ahead and use that here. There we go. And then his skill 2, which is Thunder Crest and Stygian Swell, with the rework, it's going to be getting 2 more uses, so again, more longevity for Emperor, and it's going to have a low action delay. So nothing on the damage or anything like that has been changed, but the low action delay means that Emperor can chain a lot of his abilities and also his traps all at once, which is crazy, which makes him a very, very solid damage dealer from the magic department. So let's go ahead and take a look at that here. Alright, and then let's go ahead and use this EX now before I use the LD, and talk about the LD with the LD extension boards. There we go. Alright, so now let's go ahead and talk about his LD, which is Hellish Gate. Remember, this is now going to have its LD extension boards available to him. With the LD extension boards, Hellish Gate is now going to be dealing a 3-hit AoE Magic Brave attack plus single target HP attack, followed by a 5-hit AoE Magic Brave attack plus single target HP attack. It has increased Brave potency, and it also increases the LD buff that he gets, Measure of Conquest, duration by 4 turns. It's going to be adding a 20% attack up effect to his frame buff, and it prevents his own Brave from dropping below 10% of his max Brave. So it's a very, very powerful effect. And let's not forget, he will auto-trigger his traps, the 3 traps that he inflicts, even if they are not present on the enemy when you use his LD. And then it's also going to be changing the properties of his HP attack into HP attack +++. And remember, what this does is if any of his traps that are present on the enemy as debuffs, he's going to auto-trigger them without allowing them to expire, which is really, really good. And let's not forget, we have that delay effect too, which is really strong. So let's go ahead and take a look at his finish burst, but actually before we talk about that, we're going to go ahead and touch up on his calls. So if his base call, he's going to be using his skill 1, Beckoning Blast and Flare combo. It's going to be inflicting that Beckoning Blast trap debuff on the target for 1 turn, and it will expire after that target takes their turn. And then his LD call, he's going to be using his LD skill Hellish Gate, which is going to trigger all 3 of Emperor's traps, and it's also going to be delaying the target by 1 turn. So if you need a delay, that LD call is there for you. Now his finish burst, what does his finish burst do? It's going to be using a skill called Absolute Dominion, which is a 15-hit AoE Magic Brave attack plus AoE HP attack, dealing 60% increased brave damage on a single target, dealing 100% HP damage to all targets. It has a standard burst effect of maximum brave damage limit, this one by 120%, and also maximum obtainable brave and HP damage limit of 80%. It's going to be inflicting a brand new trap debuff called Thorns of Repentance for 1 turn. So now he has another trap. And then the party-wide burst aura lasts for 4 turns. It's going to be giving you 30% brave damage dealt increase, 20% maximum brave damage limit, 20% increased brave damage dealt to a debuff target, and also healing brave by 20% of HP damage dealt to debuff targets. And then the Thorns of Repentance trap debuff that I was talking about. So what this does is upon expiration, it's going to be delivering a 5-hit AoE Magic Brave attack plus AoE HP attack that ignores defense. It has a 120% stolen Brave overflow, 100% HP damage dealt to all targets. It heals Brave by 10% of total HP damage dealt, and it delays all targets by 1 turn. So we have another way to delay with Emperor if you have his burst. Let's go ahead and use it here. You're going to see a lot of colors appear on the screen with this burst. It's very, very flashy. There we go. And he does his iconic laugh, which is really cool. Alright, and as you can see, we have the burst effect there for 4 turns, so we're going to have that brave damage increase for the party and all that good stuff, and dealing more brave damage to a debuff target, which if Emperor is in your party, they're going to have debuffs on them. Now, as far as artifact passives go, you're going to want 3 copies of attack plus 108, so then that way he's able to cap out on brave damage easier, and then you're going to want 3 copies of his C50 boost, which is Aspirations of World Domination boost 2-star, and then if you are going to be investing in his high guard armor, this is going to be the one that applies like, you know, a decrease in stats as an aura, lowering all enemies' initial brave, max brave, and attack by 10%, and lowering all enemies' defense by 20%. So my personal take on Emperor after he gets these upgrades, he's a fantastic magic damage dealer with the ability to chain his skills and traps even more effectively with his lower turn rate, as well as his ability to keep his brave from dropping. His longevity is way better now because with his LD upgrading his HP attack command, you could use that, and remember, whenever traps are present, he's going to auto-trigger them. And then, however, be careful when running him with another debuffer. So that's the thing about Emperor. You can't always use him on like any party comp. You kind of want to build around him because he's going to want all his traps present at all times, which will restrict other characters who also apply very potent debuffs from being in your party. Now, from personally speaking, I'm going to be skipping his BT this time around, as even though I have it on JP, I actually rarely used him outside of his BT release. And if I wanted to go with a magic damage dealer, I actually went for more raw damage, and that's going to be in the form of Terra, who's going to be getting her burst weapon next month for Global. However, if you do invest in Emperor, he's a fantastic unit if you pull for both his LD and burst. He could, you know, chain his skills so much quicker with low action delay. He has delay, and he also has his traps, which is, you know, additional damage he does on top of what he's already dealing with his skills and all that good stuff. So overall, very, very, very strong character. Now let's go ahead and talk about Celes. So Celes is going to be getting a rework on both her skill 1 and her skill 2. Her skill 1 Shine Edge gets 2 more uses, which means more longevity. It's now going to be healing the party's HP by 80% of the HP damage she deals, up to 25% of max HP, and she's going to be inflicting Ice Imperil on all targets for 4 turns, allowing them to be more vulnerable to the ice element. So this is how it's going to look like now. And she recovers HP, which is awesome. Now with Emperor, let's just go ahead and use his HP attack +++, so we auto-trigger his traps. and get a delay off, which is nice. Alright, and now we're going to go back to Celes. So Celes's skill 2 rework, which is for Runic, is going to now be healing the party's Brave based on initial Brave. She's now going to be delivering a 2-hit Magic Brave plus HP attack, and it adds the following effects to her framed buff Brave Magic Absorb. So it's now going to lower the amount of physical Brave damage she takes by 30%. It's also going to grant the party Ice Enchant, and also allows the party to take less HP damage by 20%, and it's going to be lowering her allies' Magic Brave damage taken by 70%, and the lock debuff is going to be inflicted on all enemies this time instead of just a singular enemy. So much better. Let's go ahead and take a look at it here. And remember, her Brave Magic Absorb buff is stackable, and the stacks do increase every time she takes magic damage. And now let's go ahead and go into her Freeze Dive LD after we take a look at another HP attack plus here with Emperor. Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about Freeze Dive, which is going to be Celes's LD. So with full max limit break and LD board, she's going to have 4 uses of the skill. It's going to be permanently increasing her own attack by 90% and also permanently increasing the party's attack by 30%. So all in all, that's 120% attack up permanently for Celes, which is awesome. She's going to be starting the quest with her framed buff, Brave Magic Absorb for 4 turns, and then she's going to be delivering a 3-hit Ice AoE Magic Brave attack plus AoE HP attack, followed by an 8-hit Ice AoE Magic Brave attack plus AoE HP attack. It's going to be healing her own Brave by 20% of the HP damage she deals after the first HP attack. It's going to have 60% increased Brave damage to a single target, 200% stolen Brave Overflow, dealing split HP damage, and it's going to be healing the party's HP by 50% of total HP damage dealt, up to 35% of max HP, and as well as healing the party's Brave by 20% of the total HP damage dealt. It's going to be inflicting Ice Imperil on all enemies for 4 turns after the first HP attack. And it's also going to be inflicting Lock on all enemies for 4 turns, and inflicting a Frame Trap debuff, which is brand new for her, called Magitech Ice on all enemies for 6 turns. Now, what Magitech Ice does is it increases, first of all, it increases the Brave damage that the afflicted target takes by 20%. So whatever character is attacking that target, as long as you have this debuff present, they're taking more Brave damage. It's going to be triggering that Ice Trap after the target's turn, which is going to be healing own Brave by 100% of initial Brave. It's going to be delivering a 3-hit Ice Magic Brave plus HP attack, healing the party's HP by 20% of the HP damage dealt, up to 10% of max HP, and healing the party's Brave by 20% of the HP damage dealt. So let's go ahead and take a look at Freeze Dive. This is a very good LD skill, very loaded. Healing you on both the HP and Brave, it's so good. See, look at that. Like look at all that Celes did just by using that. All right, so with Emperor, let's just go ahead and HP attack plus again, because why not? Get him delayed further and further. All right, so Celes's calls. Her base call is she's going to use her skill 2 Runic, granting the caller Brave Magic Absorb for 6 turns and also inflicting Lock. And then her LD call is going to be using her LD skill Freeze Dive, inflicting Ice Imperil for 4 turns and also inflicting Lock and Magitech Ice for 4 turns. If you're going to be building Celes, recommended artifact passives are 3 copies of Attack plus 108 and 3 copies of Max Brave plus 330. Her HG armor is going to be the one that increases the party's Brave damage dealt, exceeding that limit of 9,999 by 5%. Now, my personal take on Celes, so her niche playstyle of being a magic tank is completely eclipsed with her new upgrades. So while she will still trivialize magic-based enemies, her utility, being able to heal, battery, enchant, imperil, and the off-turn damage she deals with the trap makes her a much more desirable party member. So even if the boss isn't fully magic-based, like even if the boss you're fighting is not just using magic attacks, she still provides some extreme value to your party, as if you take a look at her auras, they're really good. But that being said, remember, Ice Absorb fights will shut her out, unfortunately, and then her auras are definitely more defense-oriented. So you may, depending on your playstyle, you may find yourself going with a party member who provides a better balance aura-wise, such as Paladin Cecil, because he does it both from an offensive and a defensive perspective. Or if you're more of an offensive player that just likes offensive auras, being more efficient with your damage, then you would, probably use another character such as like Balthier. However, I plan on pulling her myself, as I did use her on JP on several Lufenias after her LD release. I used her for Boss Rush 2, the Heretic Count Steam, and as well as the Minotelian Lost Chapter. So all in all, she's a very, very good character, not just a niche magic tank anymore. Like, she actually does a whole lot more than that, which is fantastic. Now, there's going to be 2 banners featured with the Divine Ramuh event. The first banner that I'm going to highlight is going to be the one that features Celeste's LD EX 35 and 15. This will also have Emperor's BT, and it's also going to have Yuffie and Eiko's gear all the way up to their EX. Both those 2 characters are a little outdated at this point. Yuffie will be getting an LD weapon later on, so if you want to use her, then that's great, but they're more the consolation prizes for this banner. This is also an opportunity to get Emperor's BT if you already have his LD, so then that way you don't have to pull on the other banner. And then if you want Celeste's gear, it's all going to be on banner 1. Now, the other banner is going to feature all of Emperor's gear, including his BT and LD, and then the returning characters are going to be Selphie and Lulu. Selphie is still, I feel, a very underrated character. She is great at, helping you mitigate damage with her wall skill from her skill 2, and then her EX allows you to pump out your EX skills a whole lot faster with that aura buff that she provides. So she's actually still fairly underrated in my opinion. I think she could still hold her own in specific Lufenias. Lulu, on the other hand, despite her getting a level 80, She needs an upgrade at this point. Even on JP, she doesn't have an upgrade yet. Maybe she could be considered for a global first LD, so then that way she could get some sort of usage, but I haven't seen Lulu take into any Lufenias lately. She could probably work, but you really have to carry her with some other characters. But if you're looking for another Elemental Enchant Imperil, Lulu does provide that with her kit, but she is probably the consolation prize on this banner too. But this is going to go ahead and conclude my video for Emperor and Celeste. Hopefully this helps you guys prepare for these upgrades that these characters are going to be getting. Now, I'm not going to be making a video on Divine Ramuh or the Illusions event itself. Pretty much, they're all going to be fairly straightforward. If you want to learn more about the bosses, be sure to check out the links down below that I always leave in the video description as well as the pinned comments. And if you want specific videos on the event itself, I'm going to be leaving a link to Josepher's video as well as Simply Lost 30's video. If you guys want to watch a video on those events, be sure to check them out. Those 2 guys are good friends of mine, and they also create some really fantastic content for this game. Thank you guys again for watching. This is 40 the Broadway Saiyan signing out. Mahal, everyone.